In this lesson, we're going to create the wheel arches of our car. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's go to our left view, and we're going to hit G to turn off our grid, and we are going to create the arches of the wheel here. So to get started, let's go ahead and use a cylinder, and we're just going to left click and drag out from about the center of the wheel here, and we're going to drag that out till it touches the outside edge of the wheel arch there. Now once you have that set, you'll notice that the height is still fluctuating in the cylinder. That's because we're creating this cylinder in an orthographic view, in this case the left view. Go ahead and left click one more time to finalize the height of that cylinder, and then what we want to do from here is go ahead and modify its parameters. So in the modify panel, let's go ahead and take up the amount of sides, and let's go ahead and bring this up to something like let's do 18. What this will do is it will give us plenty of geometry around the edge of this, but it also places some vertices in very specific positions. As you can see, there's a vertex right here, right next to that seam, and there's one right here next to that seam. So once we have that amount of 18 sides, let's go ahead and right click on this and convert it to editable poly. Now what I want to do at this point is I want to go ahead and create a set of edges around the front here. Now this can be done by going to the polygon mode and selecting this front polygon. You'll notice that it is selected, but it doesn't appear shaded as we're used to. Go ahead and hit F2 if that's the case for you. So hitting F2 will turn it to non-shaded or back to shaded. With this polygon selected, let's inset it, and let's inset this up until we touch the inside corner of that arc. Now you may not be able to see it, so if you hit Alt-X, that will switch you to see-through mode. Now as you can see, see-through mode appears to be really dark to where we can't see our image and then it fades in gradually. That's because we're using the realistic rendering mode. Let's go ahead and switch this over to shaded to make this a lot easier on us. So once you have this amount down, let's go ahead and take it to, let's go to about 2.5. That should give us a good value there, and we'll hit OK. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and select all of these polygons across the bottom here, just like that. So you're basically cutting this in half, and you want to hit delete. The only polygons it should leave you with are the ones along the front, and then you'll have some that are along the top here. Select this polygon here, hold shift and select the next one. That'll select that entire loop of polygons and hit delete. So all you should be left with is this here. Now in your left view, you'll want to go ahead and go to edge mode, and we want to continue to create some edges along the bottom here. So let's grab our move tool, and with those edges selected, hold shift, drag that down to this point, and then hold shift again and drag it down to the bottom of our reference image. Then at this point we'll come in and we'll start to move around our edges. So let's go to vertex mode, and I'm going to take this vertex and I'm going to place it right here, and I'll take this one and place it right about here. Now as you start to move some of these vertices around, you'll notice that we may start to skew the shape a little bit, and you just want to be very careful whenever you're working in this. Okay, we really need that seam there, but you know, we can move that a little bit. If it's a big move, you might want to just go ahead and add another segment. So we also need this one to go right about here. I'm going to leave that vertex right where it's at. And then everything else looks pretty good except for this one right here. I'm going to bring that down a little bit. And let's see, these polygons are about the same size. I'm going to take this one, leave it right there. Let's pull this one back because it does kind of start to arch in a little bit. And that looks good. Alright, so now let's get the back arch. We're going to do this the exact same way, so I'm going to go a little bit faster. Let's left click and drag the cylinder out. We're going to go to the outside edge of that, or at least get close, and then grab our move tool. Let's hit Alt-X, and let's just position that a little bit better. And this looks good. We've got a vertex here for that seam. That looks good. We really don't have a vertex here. We have one right there. It could go in there. This is pretty close, so I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and I'll go with that there. Let's make sure we have our sides all set up. That looks good. Let's right click and convert it to editable poly. Then we're going to take this front polygon and we're going to inset that. Let's inset it to the same amount, so 2.5, and then hit OK. Let's select those polygons across the bottom, delete, And then make sure you go to your perspective view by hitting P and then select all of those polygons across the top there that are left. And then we can come in and let's hold Shift and drag these down. So we'll pull that up. Continue to kind of pull these up as well. This one looks pretty good right there, but we're going to pull these verts in just a little bit. It kind of looks like my wheel well is just shifted to the right a little bit too much, so I'm going to pull that back a little bit more. Alright, so that looks great. So now we have our seams set there. Let's make sure we have all of our vertices in place for that to work properly. That looks good there. This one could move right about here, but then I also need this one right here. So I'm going to put those there, but then I'm going to go to Edit and Swift Loop. I'm going to add this loop right back here in the middle, and then we're going to place that right there. Okay, just to kind of even that out some. Alright, so we're looking pretty good with this. We may have to move around the wheel well a little bit, but I'm not going to play with that too much. We want to keep the roundness that the cylinder gave us. Now the important thing to do next is to go ahead and connect the two arches together. And we're going to be using a tool called Bridge to help us out with that process. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started in that in our next lesson, because that's going to, we're going to need to do a little bit of setup before we can get those to bridge together. So I'll see you in the next lesson.